Mr. Chair.
We'll call the meeting to order. Michelle? It's at 2 o'clock exactly.
I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory. The land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bowading. Bowading is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Mr. Chair, if I could have a motion for the minutes of our last meeting.
Committee members, Joseph Greco, seconded by Melinda McGregor. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, member Joseph Greco has advised that he has a pecuniary interest in tab 5. That would be application B 2022. Dennis and Kim Iannelli, 453 Landslide Road. The applicants are clients of his law firm. And we get to that matter, Mr. Greco will vacate the chambers while the committee considers the application. As for requests for withdrawal or deferral, tab 6 on your agenda package, not in your binder, but on the package, is an application from Fernando Manarino, B2122, 180 Roosevelt Avenue, and it has to be deferred to the July 27th hearing. The public notice sign was posted improperly, and the Planning Act requires a specific posting on that. It wasn't met, so we would have to defer. So if I could have a motion for that deferral.
Mr. Greco, seconded by Mr. Wayne Greco. All in favor?
That
Carried.
would be to
Thank you.
July 27th. Mr. Chair, if I could bring the committee's attention to tab 5 and a member Joe Greco, if you would vacate the chambers. We'll hear application at tab 5, that being V 2022 Dennis and Kim Iannelli. Adrian Hagan of Wilson Greco Hagan Law Firm is here representing the applicant. And Adrian, you could sit there if you like, and if you have comments to make, then please go to the microphone unless you feel you're loud enough to speak there. Otherwise, just sit and we'll go through it, and then you can decide when the member asks. Thank you. The chair asks. Dennis and Kim Iannelli are the owners of Civic number 453 Landslide Road, being part of the Southeast Quarter Section 16, former township of Terran Torres. It is located on the west side of Landslide Road between 5th Line East and Fish Hatchery Road, and is designated rural area in the official plan and is zoned RA rural area. The applicants are seeking the committee's consent to sever and convey 2 parcels from the subject property, one having a frontage of 47.97 meters and an area of 0.84 hectares, the other having a frontage of 51.45 meters and an area of 0.792 hectares. The intent of the application is to create 2 additional rural residential lots. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on city website. Is there anyone in the gallery other than Adrian that's here for this application? Technical review. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building, Planning, Engineering, Bell Canada Right-of-Way, and Sault Ste. Marie Region Conservation Authority had no objections. Building Division had no objections, but wished to remind the applicant that any development of the property in the future will require compliance with the Ontario Building Code and all applicable authorities, review and approval from the City Building Division, and issuance of a building permit. Engineering Services had the following comments. Culvert permits will be required for new entrances. The applicant will be responsible for ensuring quality of well water, including compliance with our own 1980 Regulation 903 wells under Ontario Water Resources Act, RSO 1990, and septic systems to the satisfaction of the Algoma Public Health. A lot grading plan should be prepared to determine drainage pattern. If surface water from a property must traverse an adjacent lot prior to reaching an outlet, it must be confirmed that a drainage agreement is registered on title of the affected lots permitting the drainage as proposed. Public Works do not object to the request, but do advise that driveway entrances must be paved to the property line. Sault Ste. Marie Region Conservation Authority advised that any development on the property will require a permit from the Conservation Authority. Considerations for the committee to keep in mind: previous approval was granted in 2020 under application B920, but was never acted on. Staff support the current request. No response from neighboring property owners advised of this request. No evidence that approval would create a negative impact. Conditions to be applied but not limited to any approval are provision of registered survey plan, payment of certificate fee, payment of cash in lieu of parkland, provision of applicable transfer documents, discharge or partial discharge of charge or mortgage, payment of municipal taxes, compliance with zoning bylaw provisions, confirmation of proven wells, culvert permits prior to building permits, Algoma Public Health approval, and provision of a lot grading plan together with any required easements. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
And
Michelle.
again, it's Adrian Hagan.
Thank you, Michelle. Adrian Hagan, do you have any other comments or additions to speak to this application?
I can just say that the applicant is not actually fully aware of permit requirements or future aspects that are involved
And all the conditions.
and all conditions, so they are properly advised.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members with respect to the application? Yeah,
Question, just for information, there was a previous application and it was approved.
right.
How long before that expires? And,
At that time, it was 1 year. Now it's 2.
Okay, thank you.
Committee members, how do we speak to this application?
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Wayne Greco and seconded by Ms. Melinda Gregor. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Did you
Adrian.
ask Joe to come back in? Or is he that way? Okay. Okay, I'll bring the committee's attention to the first tab on your agenda, and that would be application A1822. It's an application from Jamie and Michelle Paraniuk. They're the owners of 34 Country Club Place, being lot 110 Margaret Heights subdivision, plan 3 M309. It is located on the east side of Country Club Place between Joseph Street and Golf Range Crescent. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R2 single unit residential. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended to facilitate the construction of a spaced picket-style fence in the front yard and adjacent to the neighboring driveway. Specifically, section 7.2 requires a front yard of 0.9 meters height. Increase the front yard fence height to 1.2 meters for the spaced picket-style fence only. Section 7.3.2 sightline setback for driveway, maximum height of a fence is 0.75 meters. Increase the height of the fence in the sightline driveway to 1.8 meters. Relief is, hold on.
Yeah.
Public response, there was none. Is there anyone in the gallery to speak to this application? Seeing none. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review: building, planning, engineering, fire, legal, PUC, public works, conservation authority, Bell Canada right-of-way. Advised that they have no objections. Building division staff had no objections and advised that there is a 19-foot boulevard beyond the edge of the fence adjacent to the driveways that is advantageous to anyone pulling out of the driveways. Planning division staff noted that there is a wide city boulevard and no sidewalk on this side of the street. The fence adjacent to the street is of the spaced picket variety, creating transparency. We have no objections to this application. The fence on the driveway side benefits from the wide 5.8 meter or 19-foot city boulevard. The bylaw suggests that the sightline permitting this fence should originate at the intersection of the property line and the edge of the driveway. Given the wide boulevard, strict adherence to this may not be needed. No objections unless the neighbor has safety concerns. I've not heard from the neighbor, and obviously the neighbor's not here. Engineering staff advised that in light of the comments from Public Works and the length of the boulevard, engineering has no further comment. Considerations: there is a wide boulevard. There is an absence of any objections from staff or neighboring property owners and evidence of staff support. Recommend any approval be conditional upon the fence construction remaining as illustrated on the site plan, provided that the site plan provided and that the fence construction adjacent to the east property line be as currently designed, that is to say a picket style fencing. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions from committee members with respect to this application, concerns, anyone?
No, I think the wide city boulevard helps kind of, and then having the open picket style
Thank you.
fencing.
Do you have a motion, please? A
Oh.
motion by Ms. Melinda
With
McGregor, second
conditions of.
with the
keeping the-
conditions. Thank you,
Yeah.
Melinda. Seconded by Mr. Joseph Greco. All in favor? Carried, and thank you.
Thank you. So we move to the next matter on your agenda at tab 2, and that would be application A1922, an application from Daryl Clifford Bedard and Christine Ada Purvis, and they're in the gallery. Both are in the gallery, and as you probably heard me before, you can stay seated there. If the committee has any questions, if you feel comfortable just speaking from there, that's fine. If not, then you would go to the podium. So noting that Mr. Bedard and Ms. Purvis are in the gallery, they are the owners of Civic number 10 Wilk Street, being lot 11 Cooper subdivision. It is located on the southwest corner of Bruce Road and Wilk Street. It is designated rural area in the official plan and is zoned R1 estate residential. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended to facilitate the construction of a 7.3 meter by 9.1 meter detached garage having a height of 6.7 meters, the upper level to contain an accessory use second unit. Specifically, sections 9.5.2 of zoning bylaw 2005-150 requires a minimum lot area of 0.8 hectares. The applicants are seeking to reduce the lot area requirement to 0.19 hectares. Section 9.5.3.2 sets out a maximum building height of 6 meters. The applicants are seeking to increase the building height of the proposed garage to 6.7 meters. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website. And is there anyone in the gallery that wishes to speak to it other than the applicants? Are you, sir? No, okay. You must have just been moving your hand. Technical review. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review: Building, Planning, Engineering, Fire, Legal, PUC Services, Conservation Authority, Bell Canada right-of-way. Building, Planning, Engineering, and Conservation Authority had no objections. Building Division staff advised that the maximum gross floor area of living space for accessory use second units is 90 square meters or 968.75 square feet. Engineering staff advised that provided APH is supportive of a second unit on a septic system, they would have no further comment. Any septic system design shall be to the satisfaction of the Algoma Public Health. Considerations: no objections to the request from staff or neighboring property owners. Recommend that any approval be made conditional upon support from Algoma Public Health prior to final consent. Mr. Chair, at this point, the applicants are seeking to build this garage with the additional height to put a second accessory unit in it, although a main building isn't there yet. Their intent is to build this unit, live in it, and then build the main building. But it seems kind of awkward because we're calling it a second unit. If we don't support the additional height, and you will choose whether that goes or not, then there won't be a second living unit on it. It would just be a main building. So they, with approval of this application, they can come in and get a permit for a living unit. It won't be called a secondary unit at that point because the main building isn't on there, and you're entitled to that. Once the main building is on there, this would then become the second unit. And there's a caution in there from Building Division advising the applicants that the gross floor area for a second unit can't be over 90 square meters. So unless they want to build a very small house, they would keep in mind that regulation in building this primary unit at this time. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Michelle. Mr. Bedard and Ms. Purvis, do you have any other things you'd like to add? Comments with respect to your application?
I have a question about square footage. What I understood, built the actual house had to be bigger.
And that's what I just sort of said.
Yeah.
Okay,
What building has done is alerted you to the fact that your second unit is limited to no more than 90 square meters. So if you were to build this larger than 90 square meters, your house then would be, your new house would become your second unit and would have to be smaller. So they're cautioning you, don't build anything bigger than.
Okay. Any questions from committee members to Mr. Bedard and Ms. Purvis? Anyone?
No, I'm glad that I needed a little
Yeah, no, I just
clarification
wanted-
about
yeah.
that too. That's perfect.
Thank you. Could I have a motion?
A motion to go public health conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Greco. Seconded by
I'll
Ms.
second.
McGregor.
Yeah.
All in favor, please? Pass. Carried.
Thank you. Okay, and I should mention if, when the committee is finished with your application, you're free to leave. You're free to spend the rest of the afternoon with us as well.
Are we gonna get an email?
You will get a copy of written decision in the mail within the next few days. Okay? Well, actually, I'll be emailing it to you. Okay. Okay, moving on to tab 3 on your agenda, and it would be an application B 1822. Dave Urso is acting for the applicant. The subject property is 2467 Baseline. The owner is 1372055 Ontario Limited. The property is part of the Northwest Quarter Section 2, former Township of Park. It is located on the southeast corner of Ganya Road South and Baseline. It is designated rural area in the official plan and is zoned RA rural area and EM environmental management. The applicant is seeking the committee's consent to sever and convey 2 parcels from the subject property, each being 61 meters by 132.6 meters by 0.8 hectares in size, both to front on Baseline. The retained parcel will be approximately 29.6 hectares in size. The intent of the application is to create 2 additional rural lots for future residential development purposes. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website. It was circulated to building, planning, engineering, Bell Canada right-of-way, Algoma Public Health, and Sault Ste. Marie Conservation Authorities, and they had no objections. Building Division had no objections, but wished to remind the applicant that any development of the property in the future will require compliance with the Ontario Building Code and all applicable authorities, review and approval from the City Building Division, and issuance of a building permit. Engineering staff advised that there is no sanitary servicing in this area. Any septic system design shall be to the satisfaction of Algoma Public Health. A culvert permit will be required for new entrances. Conservation Authority advised that any development on the property will require a permit from the Sault Ste. Marie Region Conservation Authority. The proposed severed lots may be within the regulated area and will require a site plan review and may require a permit from the Conservation Authority. Considerations, staff for support the request. There's no response from neighboring property owners advised of the request. Algoma Public Health, since I prepared that report, Algoma Public Health have advised that they have no objections to the severance. Customary conditions to be applied but not limited to any approval are provision of registered survey plan, payment of certificate fee, payment of cash in lieu of parkland, provision of applicable transfer documents, discharge or partial discharge of charge or mortgage, payment of taxes, compliance with zoning bylaw provisions, and confirmation of proven wells. And the confirmation of wells will be prior to the issuance of a building permit. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Michelle. Mr. Urso, do you have any other comments, additional? And the thank you, sir. And the conditions, are you're okay with all the conditions attached there, sir? Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Any questions from committee members, Mr. Urso?
I don't have any questions.
Can I have a motion from someone? Mr. Wayne Greco,
Motion,
seconded by Mr. Joseph Greco. All in favor? Carried, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The next and final matter on our agenda today is application B 1922. It's an application from Armando and Teresa Palenti, and the civic address is 33 Allard Street. Its lots, legal description is lots 15 and 16 Rosedale Park subdivision, Plan 20146, and part of Lane, former township of St. Mary's. It is located on the west side of Allard Street between Chapel Avenue and McNabb Street. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R2 single unit residential. The applicants are seeking the committee's consent to convey a southerly strip of property fronting on Allard Street being approximately 3.84 meters by 35.81 meters in size and attach it to the adjacent property known as 29 Allard Street as a lot addition. The intent of the application is to increase the existing land holding known as 29 Allard Street. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city website. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building, Planning, Engineering, Bell Canada Right-of-Way, and Conservation Authority had no objections. Building Division had no objections, provided that the existing structures adjacent to the new lot at 33 Allard Street are considered, and any correction, if necessary, is made regarding zoning setbacks and Ontario Building Code limiting distance requirements. Using Google Earth, the property shows a shed that may need to be relocated and an existing garage that may require measures to protect from fire spread if the new lot line is less than 4 feet from the wall of the garage. Engineering advised that it appears that the sanitary service for 33 Allard Street may be within the 3.8 meter piece of land to be attached to 29 Allard Street. It is recommended that the sanitary service be located in relation to the property boundary and that an easement be provided for future maintenance if required. Considerations: the proposed lot addition will increase the frontage and lot area of the existing legal non-conforming lot, bringing it into character with neighboring properties and making it more conducive to new home construction. Customary conditions to be applied but not limited to any approval are provision of a registered survey plan, payment of certificate fee, provision of applicable transfer documents, discharge or partial discharge of charge or mortgage, payment of municipal taxes and compliance with zoning bylaw provisions. And I just want to briefly touch base on the Building Division comment. That refers to that small shed, Teresa, that we spoke about that would likely have to be moved or removed. That's what they're saying. There is something that could be not in compliance. And the survey, once you decide where that property line is, will determine whether that shed has to move or go. What they're saying about the garage is, provided that the garage is 4 feet from the property line, then it won't need any measures on the outside wall of that garage. If it's less, it could be that some drywall or cladding will have to be put on there. But you'll get this in writing, and then you'll get this information in writing. And then once the survey is done, they will determine whether you need to do something with that. And engineering is speaking about the sanitary sewer service. And again, that also will be determined once the surveys plan is done. It may require an easement between the two properties, depending on where it lands. Okay, and those are my submissions, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair.
Michelle. Mrs. Plenty, do you have anything you'd like to add to this application, comments? No, thank you. Committee members, any questions, Mrs. Plenty?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just clarification. I've noticed that there's no, on both of these illustrations, there's no structure on 29 Allard.
There isn't.
Okay, then I'm confused by the picture of what's attached. Is that with 33 Allard?
The house,
photograph.
you see the white house, the garage and the little shed,
Yeah.
and then you see that vacant land beside it.
Yes.
That's the property that 10 feet will be taken from the house with the shed and added to that
the
vacant
29.
land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's the shed that may or may not have to be removed.
I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions from committee members? Can I have a motion for this application from Mr. Joseph Greco, second by Mr. Wayne Greco? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mrs. Plenty.
You're welcome. Oh. And that is the end of our business, Mr. Chair. Jonathan, you can.
Live streaming stopped.